available technology to treat the person is not in Nigeria. You get, so this kind of conferences, I'm sure, will enable us to actually delve deeper into how we can involve tech in our health system.
Very important. In other headlines, we see that NDLEA busts drug syndicates at Kano Airport in page 8, and in page 4 we see that NNPCL nears 100% pipeline efficiency. The GCEO has come out to say. And the big headline, we see the PDP zones 2027 presidential ticket to South confirms the Magum chairman in page 2. And in other headlines in Vanguard newspaper front page, we see that PDP zones presidency to South, says APC. I think that's like the major one going on all headlines. And that's in page 5. And in page 11, we see that police go after assassins. And in page 9, crisis loans in universities over salary structure review, the story we took first. And beneath it in page 9, we see that state of the nation, ministers clashes at NBA confab. Moving to our Daily Trust newspaper front page, we see that federal government issues a fresh flood alert to 9 northern states, and beside it we see that ECOWAS to raise 260,000 counter-tourism bridges, and beside it also we see the presidents flee as bandits attack Niger. Residents flees as bandits attack Niger State and Kwara State. And the big headline, 2027 PDP shots out north. And beneath it, how drug syndicate framed 3 Nigerians detained in Saudi Arabia. Beneath it, we see that World Hausa Day celebration holds today. To all our Hausa brethren, happy Hausa Day today. And in other headlines, we see that Osun leads as 1.3 votes registered in 1 week. And in the next newspaper headlines, we see that in the front of Nigerian Tribune newspaper that battles for 2027 takes shape as PDP zones presidential ticket to South. We see above it that on page 7 there is a FBO levy worries on man of 4% reduction. We also see in page 4 that drug kingpin, 5 others in NDLA gets over arrest in Nigerians of the Saudi Arabia. That's the story we were talking about in the last newspaper headline. We also see that insecurity ECOWAS to delay 260,000 encounters tourism bridges. And moving on to our tech news, Nvidia state office closed after wide-ranging network security incident. State office in Nvidia has been forced to close following the widespread network insecurity incidents that disrupted the government operation. Officials confirmed that the websites were offline and phones lines were unreliable, leaving many services temporarily inaccessible. The office of the governor, Joe Lombardo, announced that some state systems would remain slow or unavailable during the recovery efforts. So that several states' websites, including the governor's own, were unreachable late Monday as authorities worked to restore the services. While the exact cause has not been disclosed, the disruption is consistent with ransomware attacks to lock up computer networks and demand payment for release. I think we've been speaking on the data privacy and all of this. And one of the major things we see is this cyber attack. Cyber attack is I think it's one of the highest criminal attack now.
It's on the rise.
It's rising, not in Nigeria technically. We have to look at tech countries that are already moving in tech world. And one of it has come out again. This time they didn't even affect only government. They took down the whole lines, phones, access to phones, access to your computer, and they are now, how will I say, let me use the Nigerian word, they kidnapped their access and asked them to pay a ransom to be able to give them back the access to this computer gadgets. It's a funny. When I saw it, I was just like, so apart from kidnapping people, they actually can kidnap network and all of that. But these are the kind of stories we hear when it comes to tech companies and all of that. But we keep saying it. These things can be avoided.
Yes,
when it comes to technology, there will always be a disadvantage.
We need to. The whole world needs to find a way to step up its defense policy or defense machinery against this kind of attacks. We don't want to be seen, I've heard of ransomware before, we don't want to be seeing a situation whereby a whole city or a whole state is shut down because of a virus attack or a cyber attack, you know. It doesn't all go well for the systems that the world is trying to build in terms of the tech space and all. You get whereby viruses are sent to shut down systems, to shut down, you know. And we're talking about data privacy not too long ago. That was last week.
Yes.
Talking about how we need to protect people's data and all. So as tech is advancing, we need to also do, cyber security needs to also advance, internet security needs to also advance. I think the government and institutions at large needs to find a way to prevent some of these cyber attacks from happening. Again, not just preventive measures need to be put in place the more. And bringing it down here to Nigeria, we also have to find, this also tells us if it can happen in US, if it can happen in Nevada, US, it can also happen here in Nigeria. In fact, we need to also put in strong cybersecurity networks, systems in Nigeria, so that we don't fall victims to all these kind of cyber attacks. The government needs to put more funds in maybe teaching people more on cybersecurity. Institutions need to also develop means that they can better get protect their cyberspace, their internet space, so that they don't fall victims of, like I always say, robbers of before. When we improved to using guns to attack people, them too, they started using guns to attack people. Yeah. When we moved to using sophisticated systems to attack people, criminals too, we also moved to, you know, so we are in the tech space now, we are talking of AI and all of that. So criminals will also move into that kind of space and start using AI, start doing a lot of stuff. So the government needs to be more proactive to bring preventive measures, to put in place preventive measures to stop this kind of attack, so that there is no data information being stolen, systems are not being shut down, systems are running smoothly and all of that. In Nigeria, we also need to put that in place as well.
I think some of the reasons why they said this happened was because of some government computers may have been running on old, unprotected softwares.
Yeah.
Hackers might also have entered through fake email or weak passwords, and also once inside, the virus spread through system and cause chaos. And you know something about virus, and when it comes to system, once it affects one particular system and the system get connected to another system, it moves. The virus moves. It's just is as good as the virus when it comes to body contact and all of that. It moves in a viral way. That's why it's called a virus. That's why it's called a virus and all of that. But like you said, there are ways to actually prevent this, and it can be prevented if there is a solution. I think we should harness more of the solutions.
Yes.
We should start harnessing more of the solutions than always talking about the problem, always mentioning the problem, because there will always be a problem. Try to harness more of using the solutions than hitting and beating around with the problems, because I think most of the techniques we've been seeing from last week even into this week has been more on the problems that have been going, that have been driving in the tech. Cyber attacks, data in privacy. This one comes up and say this, another and they are not even that's why I mentioned that when we saw Microsoft, the issue of the hackers in Microsoft software I think that's last 3 weeks or so, we were saying it, that these people they do not attack individuals anymore. They attack a whole company, they attack a whole country, and these are the things that cause war. These are the things that release important data of government, of their policy, what you are doing, what the US government is trying to drop, or will I say stop some social media platform for. The thing you're trying to run away is actually happening right before you. So let's look for a way to make sure that we actually cut down on most of these things, instead of people trying to lump down Chinese companies and all of that. But anyway, let's move on to our next tech news. In our next tech news, we see that the Saudis Humain to launch data centers with US chips in early 2026. The Saudi Arabia newly established artificial intelligence company Humain has begun building its first data center in the kingdom, with operations set to begin in early 2026. The facility is located in Dammam and Riyadh are expected to launch in the second quarter with an initial capacity of up to 100 megawatts. Humain, is sourcing advances from US chip makers, including Nvidia latest AI processor, which have received the local regulatory approval. Earlier this year, Nvidia confirmed plans to supply hundreds of thousands of its own new Blackwell chips to Saudi Arabia, with 18,000 units allocated to Humain in the first tranche. The chipmaker AMD has also struck a $10 billion collaboration with the company. Now, these are the kind of news we would love to hear. They said they launched it in May under the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund and chaired by the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Humain aims to position the kingdom as a hub of AI development. I know when I always mention this news, I always want to relate it down to our own personal country. I want to see news like this come up on our headlines, where Nigeria, in collaboration with other continents, or Africa as a whole, in collaboration with other continents that have gone far in the tech world, in collaboration with them to actually bring a structure or provide a stable structure. Because when we talk about what will I put this word? Like you said, data privacy, health infrastructures, and when it comes to technology and AI has made things very simple for people, and involving those things in each and every sector in Nigeria would actually give a better push for Nigeria, or Africa, as a whole, because I do not want to focus only on our country, Africa as a whole, as a continent, for help and all of this kind of news, like I said. But in all of these things, I love the fact that they bought the idea. The fact that Nvidia actually bought the idea. See implementation being made immediately after you asked, and the collaboration was successful.
Yes.
In investment, they knew that, okay, this investment was going to bring a huge profit and a big move in the tech world. Please invest immediately. There was implementation immediately after, and it's a nice thing to see.
Yes. If there's any country that I'm really impressed with in terms of development of policy since 2016, 2017, is Saudi Arabia. You know, ever since this Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, he became the Crown Prince, he has been doing a lot of liberal policies, getting into the tech world, anything. Saudi Arabia really wants to put itself out there in the forefront of every new development. So, and when it comes to technology, they also want to be in that space. You know, when you talk of data centers being provided or being opened, you know, we usually talk of Europe, we usually talk of US, you know. Saudi Arabia, Humain, like you mentioned, one of the new tech startups in Saudi Arabia, is seeking that, look, let's open a data center, let us build data centers to encourage our people to use, so that we can build research centers that will make us to advance in AI. You know, we are talking about the fact that AI is the big thing now. You know, and every country needs to push themselves into that. And Saudi Arabia is taking a big look. I mean, we are talking of investing, is it 10 billion, right? $10 billion, you know, in this, and that's huge. That's a huge amount of money. So Saudi Arabia has really been doing well in terms of, if you talk of sports, if you talk of tech, they want to be at the forefront of everything. And that's courtesy of the Saudi Crown Prince, rather, Mohammed bin Salman. And I want to encourage them that they should keep on doing more. Now, moving it down to us here in Nigeria, you know, like you said, we also need to be in that world as well. You know, our government needs to take a look into the tech space. How many data centers do we have in Nigeria? You know, previously we spoke about MTN building a data center, I think somewhere in, is it Lagos or Ogun State? Can't really pinpoint the actual states now. But it's a good one. We encourage them that they should do more. More companies need to also look at building data centers, because that's the foundation for building a tech space. Data centers, you know, build quality data centers, pour in funds into data centers, so that Nigeria too is not left out. We don't begin to beg countries for tech infrastructure and all. You know, like you said, we need tech in our health system. Even in mass media, in journalism that we are doing now, we need tech. You know, everything, we need more improved tech. You know, AI is taking over spaces now. AI is set to take over a lot of jobs in the nearest future. So Nigeria too needs to position itself, be at the forefront, take a leap from Saudi Arabia, look for companies to partner with. You know, Saudi Arabia is partnering with Nvidia. How are we going to partner with this kind of tech corporations so that we ourselves will be better off in the long run?
And like you've always said, if the government won't come out, private investors
Private
will actually
investors.
come out to make this possible, and looking at people like Professor Wakai, who actually have the idea of Nigeria or Africa as a whole walking into tech space, walking into science space, not living, but using or with the fact that we uphold culture and all of that, but still the importance of technology. They've seen the importance of technology. Buying into these kind of ideas is good. Now, one thing is for a particular person to come out and say this. Another thing is for your government to support
you.
And we need the government to actually start supporting private investors that would actually buy into the idea of technology. Any person that is buying into the idea of technology is looking at the future, and if we say the future is now, we must invest in it. And if the government, surely the government can't do it alone. These private investors coming out, please, the government, look into it.
Need to
Try
partner
with them. Help them partner with other external investors that can actually help the Nigeria or Africa as a whole, the African tech space, to actually move into the present or the future itself, because we cannot be harnessing the past when we are already in the future. We cannot be using the past to write our future. Yes, we know that the past is important, but we must also try to write our future and make it look like the future. Not make it look like the past. The future is looking like the past. But God will help us. And like we said, it still falls or boils down back to all of us. Okay, we've come to an end of our newspaper headlines review. We'll be taking you through all the newspapers we looked at. We looked at the Times newspaper front page, where we saw that the NDLEA boss drug syndicate at Kano reports in page 8. We also looked at the front page headline where PDP zones 27 presidential tickets to South and confers Damagum chairmanship in page 2. And we saw that NIMET DG 6 climate smart PPP to end agro infrastructure risk. We also saw in the front page of our Vanguard that PDP zones presidency to the South, says APC won't pay fair. We also saw that Premium Trust Bank meet 20 billion naira capital requirement in page 15. The next newspaper headline we looked at was the Daily Trust newspaper, where we saw that the federal government issue fresh flood alerts to 9 northern states. And we also saw how drug syndicates framed 3 Nigerians detained in Saudi Arabia. The next newspaper front page we looked at was the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. We saw battle for 2027 takes shape as PDP zones presidential tickets to South. And the next newspaper front page we looked at was the Punch newspaper, where we saw Makinde orders to fight for PDP tickets in page 2. And we also looked into the headline that NANS vows critical assets shut down over ASU strike and threatens in page 29. And we also saw ECOWAS to raise $2.5 billion for 260,000 men counter-terrorism force. And we looked into our tech news, where we saw that the Nvidia state office closed after a wide-range network security incident. And the next tech news we dived into was the one of Saudi Humain to launch data centers with US chips in the early 2026, We've come to an end of our newspaper headlines. A very big thank you to our guest, who has always made it possible to make sure his presence is always available for us all, and his intellect being spread wide, and also to help us crack down some newspaper headlines. I'm so happy. I know I'm always happy whenever I see you do this.
My pleasure being here
with us. And to all our viewers out there who glued to the screen, thank you very much for staying glued to your screen. And please continue in this, because we'll be bringing you more innovative programs after now. The Idea Money, the ideas will be coming after in some minutes after from now. And after that, other news headlines will be coming up. And also, make sure you try to click some like and also a follow button, subscribe button in all our news or all our social media platform on Idea Television, and so that you'll be able to get connected to programs like this whenever they come up, or you get the notifications about them whenever they come up, so that you can watch it after now, not get to miss them. And to myself, always being present in the studio to also do newspaper headlines for you guys. I am Jacobs Deborah, and like I would always say, stay safe, stay informed.